I'm not buying it. I own it. I had the good fortune to recognize my eyes are wide open as to the risks. I do know that it's a giant copper deposit. It's a gigantic deposit, or rather series of deposits.
Welcome back to the Early Stage Investor. On this channel, our only mission is making you life-changing returns. We started this channel talking about gold and uranium. If you bought heavily back in early 2020 or 2021, you would have made life-changing returns of those assets. They're absolutely skyrocketing right now. But there's always an early stage market somewhere. Today, we're talking about copper, potentially more early stage than silver and gold. Has not seen the light of day according to Rick Rule. Analysts project the market shifting into deficits starting around 2026 with widening gaps over time. Potential cumulative shortfall of millions of tons, up to 10 million tons by 2040 or 19 million tons by 2050 without major new investment / recycling. Global production may peak around 2030 at 33 million tons before declining unless addressed. So there is a structural shortage in copper. There's been massive underinvestment. Here's the price of copper. In 2008, it was like $4. Now it just hit $6. So it's kind of just been sitting there flat. People haven't been incentivized to pour money into mining. And so we're getting a structural supply deficit. Very bullish. This chart looks early stage. This chart could pump. So in this video, we're going to hear from Rick Rule. He's a legend in the mining space. He's studied this space for decades. We're going to see what some of his favorite copper stocks are as ways of getting exposure to this emerging bull market structural supply deficit. That is exactly what we want to see when investing in early stage bull market.
Is McEwen Mining still a buy?
I'm not buying it. I own it. I had the good fortune to recognize probably 3 years ago that Rob McEwen had been oversold. He's been serially successful. I've known him for 40 years. He has 200 million of his own money invested in this. He draws a salary of $1 a year. Importantly, he has a very large copper deposit. I don't think that copper has seen the light of day, but I think it will 2 or 3 years from now. And he has a large copper deposit in a destination, a political destination, Argentina, that I think is the most rapidly improving destination on the planet. So while I'm not sure McEwen is cheap based on the current data, I do believe that there is a superb upside case, and in particular, that this is a horse, as it were, with an absolutely top caliber jockey.
So I did interview Rob McEwen on this channel a few years ago. The stock has been absolutely ripping. Here is the chart. So it's caught a bid recently, but Rick Rule still owns it. It's probably caught a bid recently because they're heavy in the gold space. Gold has skyrocketed. Its copper assets, again, haven't seen the light of day according to Rick Rule. So what are McEwen Mining's copper assets? Well, here's the big one. Los Azules, McEwen Copper, 46.4% owned by McEwen Mining. Reserves, 10.2 billion pounds of copper, proven and probable. Resource, 5.4 billions, measured and indicated. 20.0 billion pounds copper at 0.21% inferred. So they've done the digging, they've done the studies, they see massive bags of copper at this resource. Cost per pound, $1.7. And this is where this company gets insane. Net present value, the value of the mine at $5 per pound copper is $4.5 billion. The market cap of this company is $1.6 billion. So they're sitting on a mine that's worth $4+ billion. Maybe that's why Rick Rule owns them. So what's Rick Rule's next pick?
I own Copper Giant. My eyes are wide open as to the risks, but my eyes are also wide open as to the accomplishments and the virtues. The economics aren't in yet, so I don't know where it will sit on the cost curve, and I don't know where it will sit on return on capital. I do know that it's a giant copper deposit. And I know, too, that despite the fact that it's a giant, it will benefit from more drilling. I'm impressed with what I have heard from locals in Colombia about the community relations enjoyed by Copper Giant. I watched Ian Harris shepherd the Corriente assets in Ecuador into production, so I know that he does a reasonably good job in rural challenged communities in the Andean Cordillera. I am told, although I don't know this personally, Lucien, that Copper Giant's success in excising part of the deposit from the park in Putumayo didn't come from their lobbying the Mines Ministry or the Ministry of Finance, but came rather from local political pressure in support of the mines in the national political process. If that's true, that's very, very important. Colombia is a country with a sort of a tenuous relationship around mining. Some aspects of the society are solidly in favor of it. Other aspects of society, backed by Oxfam, are very opposed to it. But Putumayo, which is where Copper Giant is in the most challenged part of that country. It is a territory that has been traumatized for 30 years by guerrilla warfare between the right and the left, and periodic control by the narcotraficantes. Achieving community consensus in a community that has suffered absolutely vicious, violent internal strife for 30 years is a very tough thing to do. Local trust is extremely low, and earning the trust of the locals isn't something that occurs by painting a school. It isn't something that occurs over 3 months. It requires consistent, focused effort. The indications that I haven't been to Putumayo personally. It's highly risky. Yeah. But people who work with me, including Paul Harris, who works very closely with me, have been and are impressed by the achievements of Copper Giant.
Let's dive into the actual fundamentals. Here's the chart, right? Deep value. It has been pumping recently, though. So it's 15 cents in November 2025. Now it's 52 cents. So it has pumped quite a bit. Here's who they are, right? Sponsorship by Frank Zustra. He's a billionaire principal shareholder. That's positive. 2 of 6 large copper mines built in the past 10 years. So they're sitting on a huge bag. 12.7 million tons copper equivalent inferred resource. 10 million years in the making. Here's a geographic look at their massive copper mine in Putumayo, Colombia. The Burj Al Khalifa is to the right. And look at how much copper they're saying is underground. 3.45 million metric tons of copper in this deposit. So I would say Copper Giant's pretty risky. For my money, I'd probably prefer McEwen because it's in a safer jurisdiction. You don't have to worry about what the narco-traficantes are going to do to your deposit, right? Anything could derail it. But the bottom line is Rick Rule owns it. They're sitting on a massive bag of copper.
I own Hot Chile because it's a gigantic deposit, or rather series of deposits. I don't mean big. I mean gigantic. And it's well located. It's on the coast of Chile, not at 4,000 meters or 4,500 meters. The property is transected by a highway and by power. They have access to, quote, non-continental water, which means that they have a permit to do saltwater extraction, which eliminates the key sociological challenge to copper mining development in Chile. What they need is a high-grade starter pit that gives them return on capital quickly. It would appear to me that they're on the trail of that, but I need to see additional confirmation. I am a Hot Chili owner, despite having owned it for 15 years. I haven't yet achieved the point of no concern in that stock.
Here's a chart of Hot Chili. It's obviously been ripping up 200% in the last year, but if you look at its history, it can do a lot more. So let's dive into what this company is all about. So they dug a huge hole into this area, and they're seeing just massive amounts of copper. They're saying it's one of the world's largest undeveloped copper mineral resources. Here's Costa Fuega in the middle. So they're saying 3.4 metric tons copper equivalents, right? So they're just sitting on a huge deposit. Now, yes, there's risks. That's what Rick Rule said. So he's okay taking some risks with these very early stage copper assets. Yes, they're in a pump right now. So you only really want to be dollar cost averaging on dips into these assets. But these are very risky, but very interesting assets that control massive deposits of copper, an incredibly scarce resource. That's why their stocks are skyrocketing. Those are 3 of Rick Rule's favorite copper assets. We can stay on top of more high quality mines. We can dive deeper into these assets, into the actual fundamentals in a separate video, and cover more early stage bull markets. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.